Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me again on the 3CX drop-in sessions. It's going to be a bit of a probably a better viewing one this time, less presentations and some more demos. So they've got a couple of slides, which, well, to be honest, it's only really get your questions in. So we're going to be looking at the wall boards and the call queue specifically on how to set up a call queue and what it looks like from an end user's point of view. So as I mentioned, get your questions in on the right hand side of your screen. You should see a little chat window or a questions tab, and you can just drop your questions in as and when you think of them. So let's get straight into the actual demo and let's look at the 3CX the queues. So let me bring up my screen here on for our demo account. So I'm hoping everyone can see this. It looks like it's showing correctly. So I'm assuming everyone here is pretty familiar with 3CX already, but the call queue specifically is what we're looking at today. So I'm going to first show the actual how it looks from an end user point of view. Someone call into a queue. So we have on the left hand side here, we have panel. The panel is where, in fact, if I can move it to my, there we go, sorry. So yeah, we have the panel here. So this is what you can see from the end user point of view if you're in the queue, or if you're a manager, you can see who is logged into the queues. There is actually two views. So this is like the main panel view, but there is actually also a panel per queue, which gives you a little bit more information. So if we select this, so we can just here at the top right, we can choose the test one we've already got set up. So in here, we can see there's one user, which is my account, and we can see that we're logged out. We can see other bits of information like how many calls have been answered, how many have been abandoned, and then of course the total talk time of that user. At the moment we're logged out, and it'll actually tell us when we're logged out. So from a manager's point of view, got the information to hand, and of course the more users you've got, the more just being a list down here, so you can scroll down and just view everyone quite nice and easily. If we log into the queue, then we could do that. So per user has the option, so you can click on your little picture at the top right, and we can scroll down to click log into queue. It'll now show us we're logged in. It will give us the timestamp of when we've logged in, and then we can start receiving calls. So once we actually start receiving calls, we'll have the calls showing up on the left-hand side here. We can see who's actually on with the call, and we can also see how many calls are waiting, how many have been serviced and abandoned, along with some other information. So if I actually call into one of the queues, so let me do that now just to give you an idea. So we can see it's actually my mobile, so I've just got into the queue. I was able to answer it. We can now see that this user is now on a call. We can see how long they've been on a call. From a manager's point of view as well, they'll have you can set up permissions to be able to right click and choose what you want to do with the call. So if you do you want to transfer a call, or you want to take a call or listen in, you can set those in the settings, and we can, or even drop the call, for example. So from here, for the manager's point of view, you have a nice, quick and easy access to managing the calls. So once I end this call, so if we've dealt with a call, we end the call, we can then see that the service calls has now increased from 3 to 4. So all the information is here and easily available. So let's actually get into setting one up and what that looks like, what features and options we've got. So of course, if you're logged in as an admin, or you have admin privileges, you can then go and have the little box down here on the left to click to admin. We can then scroll down to call handling, and we can see all the current ring groups or queues that are already set up, so we can see this test queue that we've just had there. Of course, big button here, add queue, so we can go and create a queue. So the virtual extension number is what we can use. So if, for example, if a user wanted to, or an extension wanted to transfer a number into the queue or call into the queue themselves for whatever reason, you can then set the virtual extension number. Once this has been set, it cannot be changed, so keep that in mind. We can then, on the right here, assign a DDI number, so we can have users directly being able to call into the queue, which is quite nice. we can then give the queue a name. So if we do maybe sales queue as an example, so this is the sales queue. We can then, of course, choose which department this is for to give us that, greater granularity of seeing, especially for larger systems, it's really important to be able to make things nice and clean and easy to see. So if we just click sales in this case. We've then got a number of polling strategies. So there's quite a few to choose from here. And we'll go over these to give you a little bit of information on which one, what each one of them covers. So prioritize hunt, that is just going to basically call the users in order of their of where they are in the users tab over here. So we have a users tab, which we'll look at in a couple of minutes, but it's just going to go down the list and call each agent, if they're available. If they're not, it's going to move on to the next one. Ring all, quite self-explanatory. It's going to ring everyone that's in the queue or every agent that's available. We've got hunt random start, so it's going to again go down that list of users, calling each one of them, but this is going to start randomly, and it's going to randomly start and start calling agents until somebody picks up. We've got round robin. The round robin distributes incoming calls evenly among logged in agents, basically ensuring that everyone gets their fair share of calls, which I would say is probably the most popular, but again, really up to your customers' needs. We've got the longest waiting, so it's going to forward the call to the agent that's been waiting the longest for a call. We've got least talk time. It's going to forward the call to the user with the least talk time. As we could see in the panel, you can actually just see who's had the least talk time at a glance, but this polling strategy is just going to call whoever's got the lowest. Fewest answered, so quite similar. It's going to just call, or it's going to direct firstly to the agent that has answered the least amount of calls. We've got hunt by threes random. So this is going to send the call simultaneously to 3 random agents until somebody answers in blocks of 3. And then we've got hunts by threes prioritized, which follows a call simultaneously to 3 agents as they're basically prioritized. So basically on the user list, it's going to pick the first 3. It's going to go to the next 3 after that. We then have some skill-based routing, which is quite nice. So essentially you can set skill levels of each user. So if you had a skill-based routing of ring all, it's going to ring all the agents within the skill group 1. So this allows really for your first line agents to answer the call, deal with the easy things, and if it needs to be escalated, they can do that then. So it's kind of filtering out things that to give make things a little bit easier for agents that maybe don't necessarily need to be taking all of the the calls. But let's say that everyone is on a call in skill group 1, it will then start going to skill group 2, and it will start ringing people in skill group 2. And we just have a couple of options here based on the skill-based routing. So if we wanted it to be a round robin or a hunt random start, we can select those as well. So we've got the ring time. So the ring time is when or how long the system's going to ring until it forwards the call onto the next person or the next agent. So in a prioritized hunt, it'll ring for, in this case, 30 seconds, and then it's going to try the next agent if there's no answer. Of course, this can be changed to, it might be 10 seconds or it might be 15 or whatever the user requires. So the maximum queue wait time. So this is currently set to 1800 seconds, which is about 30 minutes. This is what's gonna, so this is the time it's gonna take before we can basically, well, we can choose the amount of seconds. So if it's, in this case, 30 minutes, after the 30 minutes time, we can choose what's gonna happen to the call. Of course, 30 minutes is quite a long time, so it might be that this needs to be 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the SLA requirement. But we can choose here on the destination. So if there is no answer, so after that 30 minutes is up, we can choose what then happens to the call. So it might be that we forward it onto a different queue or an external number. So if we have, let's say a manager's number, for example, after that point, it might go to them directly, or just to a user specifically. So we choose, so when the office is closed, so this is based on the department's office hours, we can choose what happens to the call. So we can just accept it, or we can go to a different ring group, a different queue. So maybe there's a 24/7 out of hours queue that you can forward the call onto, for example. But equally, you can then choose or have the option to play an announcement, which in this case, so if we clicked end call, we can then choose an announcement to play, or if we went, and forwarded this on to a different queue, we can choose an announcement. So if it's just end call, it might be that we then choose the office closed WAV file and have that played, or we can do our own custom ones by clicking the microphone here, or even uploading one if you've got one professionally done. So quite similar to when on break, which typically I wouldn't say is used for queues. But again, if there are break times set up, you can then choose what to do. This might just go to a different queue, or it might go to a different ring group. And again, similar when we've gone on holiday as well. So in terms of the users tab then, so the users tab allows us to add the users to the queue, so who can take the calls. And of course, we have the different polling strategies that we can use. So we can simply click add user. We can then add a user to the queue. We want to add, let's say we add 2. But we get the option here on the left to be able to drag the users around to give them on the different priority. So if you've got a prioritized queue, it's going to ring Freddie first, then it's going to go to myself. Or if we want to do it the other way around, we can of course do that. So notifications. So we can send notifications to a particular user based on some requirements below. So let's, for example, say there's an SLA time, which you can choose later on, we'll look at that. But if you have an SLA time of 15 seconds, so if the call has been ongoing for more than 15 seconds, we can then get an email sent to the users we add above. In this case, it might be Jordan we send them to. And it's just going to notify that user that SLA is being breached, and they can then take appropriate action if needed. And we have a couple of those here, so if callbacks fails or whatnot. So options, this is where you've got your music on hold, your intro prompts, and you can also announce the position to the caller, so what position in the queue they are in. We have some preset ones already, or we can of course upload or create our own. The intro prompt is quite nice. So again, we can have an intro prompt. This might be just making sure that, or just telling a little bit about the company, or saying that the call is recorded. We can force the caller to basically listen to this, so we can play the full intro prompt before it sends or starts calling an agent, just to make sure they've got the full message, which is quite commonplace nowadays. We can of course then announce queue position to the caller after a predefined time as well. So after 60 seconds, people have this at 10 seconds, 15 seconds. They basically announce straight away to the caller what position they're in. So I suppose they can make a decision if they're 400th in queue, maybe they call back a different day, but it just allows them to choose what they want to do. We also have 3CX Talk available for queues. So you can add this to email footers, for example, just to give that user direct access to calling into the queue from the click of a button, which is really nice. Again, you don't have to use this, but it's quite similar to the 3CX Talk we have for users as well. So advanced, so we have again some more features here. So allow callback. We can select allow callback. So after the user's pressed the number 2 button on their phone, it can then initiate the callback, or we can set a callback, like offer the callback after a certain amount of time. So defined in seconds. So after 600 seconds, or it might be after 300 seconds, and you can get a callback. Just give users a little bit more user-friendly system. In terms of the wrap-up time, so this is the time that a user has before an agent has before another call is initiated. So this might be the time where they add some notes, they action certain things. So 2 seconds is quite short, but again, it depends on the environment. But if they need to write some notes, maybe this is 60 seconds, 2 minutes. Give the agents a little bit of time before another call comes in. We can see below here we have the configure SLA time, which is what we mentioned before. So this is a time that we can define before an email is sent. to the user to notify of an SLA breach. We also have the maximum calls or callers in the queue. Now this is quite important, that you don't want to, I suppose, just set this to 100, 1,000, depending on the call, simultaneous call license. Because if you imagine you've got, so each call in a queue is going to be taking up one of your simultaneous calls. So if you have, let's say, a 48 simultaneous call license, you might want to set this to 32, just to allow that any users can make internal calls, or they can call out to a different number. So it's just something to keep in mind. We've got other things like record calls, so we can, we can record the calls, and we can allow users to opt in or opt out of these as well, which would be, tell them it's TTMF or maybe number 3 in this case. So yeah, so we can opt in, or we can ask the caller to be opted in, or opt out, which is the most common, I would say, as well. So and then we have some chat assignment, which we're not going to go too much into detail, but essentially you can auto assign the chats that come in. So if it's you've got a live chat and it goes into a queue, you can auto assign or take control of those. So suppose that's it from the actual setup. So of course we'd have to hit save. In this case, I've already got one set up here, so we're not going to create that. But there is also a lot of API options you have with 3CX, and also call flow that you can create as well, which we might look at in the next drop-in session. So we might look at the call flow designer, which is a really nice tool. But if there are any questions, pop them in the chat, and we'll take a look at those. But yeah, call queues, really good feature, especially for contact centers, which 3CX is really geared up for now, these larger customers and these larger contact centers. But there are a lot of API features that are going to be coming to help with directing of calls, and there's also the root API, which has already been implemented. So if anyone wants some information on that, just give me a call afterwards, and we'll talk about that in some more detail. But yeah, essentially you're able to direct or add your own API, which is a little bit, going to be more configuration required, but ultimately is going to be a better experience for both the agents and the users as well. So if there are any questions, drop them in. Does call pickup available from within the panel? Let's have a look. Yes, so you can do that. So although it's going to be hard for me to show. So if there is a call incoming, you'd have to be fairly quick, because if you can imagine, if there are multiple, if there are multiple people in the queue that are able to take the call, in theory, it should be answered fairly quickly. But if it is showing up on here, you can right click and you'll be able to pick up the call. So if that's a manager sees a call coming in that they want, they can do that. Now, if you're talking as well about if it's potentially when a call is already ongoing and you want to be able to pick up the call, you can do that as well. You have to have the correct permissions, but you can take control of that call from an agent if you do hear something that's not going in the right direction. So hopefully that answers that question. So is this call handling section in 3.6 used for setting up standard hunt groups? Yes, you can set up an array of different so ring groups, or I believe, yeah, you can change them down here. So standard hunt group. So you can then add a ring group, add the department, add the name, add your DDIs, things like that, and your users, of course. And you can have your prioritized hunt or ring all. You have the options there. And if there are any topics that anyone wants to cover or wants me to cover in the next drop-in session, let me know. But I think we're probably looking at maybe doing the call flow designer, looking at that in a little bit of detail, and showcasing that. But again, if anyone has any topics they'd like covering, just let me know. I'll wait on here a couple more minutes, see if anyone's got any more questions, so feel free to get them in. Can you show again what other options are available to be emailed? Let's have a look. So let's go back into the queue to have a look at that then. So in terms of the notification, so there are a couple of options here that you can receive emails about. there is the SLA, there is a callback. So when a callback is made, when a callback fails, and when a call in the queue is lost. So really, it's just giving the manager, let's say in this case, or whoever receives the notification, is just some, gives them the knowledge to be able to then implement a change, or just gives them information on what's happening with the queue really, which they can then address. Any more questions? Hopefully that answers that one. And I believe as well, to add to this, I think there is also going to be some more, or there's going to be some additional email notifications that will be coming in the future as well. So, but at the moment, I don't know what those are going to be. So I'm not sure if we've got any more questions. So I'm probably going to end it there. If there are any more that come to mind, feel free to give me a call, and I'll be happy to go over any questions you've got. I'll put my details up here as well. But I appreciate everyone. That's not work well, is it? Appreciate everyone joining. Of course, feel free to give me a call if you have any more questions. But I appreciate everyone joining. Hopefully that was useful. So thanks everyone. I'll see you in the next one.